In this video, we're going to create a small seawall asset and put it into our city beachfront scene. Once again, I'm going to use some pretty simple geometry. I have a few textures that you'll find in your working files folder, and I'm going to add them to the Unity project. So let's just go to the Finder. And again, I'm going to hide others so I can see my desktop. And I have this textures folder, and you will find this textures folder in your working files folder. And I'm just going to drag it in here to the objects folder. And as you can see, we have 3 textures in this folder. Okay, let's go back to Unity, and you will see the textures appear here in Unity. Make sure this one is a normal map. When you bring it in, it might come in as just a texture, and if it does come in as a texture, just let me apply that. It'll look like this. That's not how you want it. You want it to be a normal map, and so you apply the normal map like so. All right, so make sure you have those 3 textures. I'm just going to organize this a little bit more. I'm going to create another folder here, and I'm going to call it Beach. And I'm going to take all the stuff that we've made so far and put it into the Beach folder and open it all back up again. All right, at this point, we're ready to go back into Cheetah, so let's do that. Back to the Finder. Again, hide others, and now I can launch Cheetah. All right. So once again, it's going to be a very simple piece of geometry. Create a box. I'm going to have 2 seawalls, so we'll call this one Seawall 1. And the other one will, of course, be called Seawall 2, but we'll get to that later. I'm going to resize this. Again, this is kind of arbitrary. You can play with it however you want to size your seawall. It is important that the height is 3 because that's how far our water is below the city. So we want our seawall to at least come into contact with the water. And 40. I'm going to use the scroll wheel to zoom out. And so that's going to be my piece of geometry for one of the seawalls. Once again, in Cheetah, we need to make this editable. I'm going to use the selection tool and select this top. And another tool I'm going to use is an extrude tool, inner extrude. And once I've selected the tool, I click once and you see it's done the inner extrude. And now I'm going to go back to the selection tool. And now I'm going to create a couple of materials. The first one is going to be seawall concrete. And the second one will be seawall brick. And let's load some images. So for the concrete, we can grab our concrete texture, which we did just create in our beaches folder, textures, seawall concrete. Grab that. And for our brick, similarly, load that texture, the brick pavers, not the normal, but the pavers themselves. And since this is already selected, let's just drag our pavers on there. Now, as you can see, or perhaps you can't, but you can see the bricks are a bit big here, so I'm going to use the UV mapper again and map them a little bit smaller. Once again, you can make these whatever size you want to make them. I'm going to write the UV coords, and similarly now, let's just do a invert selection. There we go. And that should be selecting the other parts of the seawall now. So we can drag the concrete onto those. And it looks like it's UV mapped fine, so we'll leave everything as it is for now. And I think that should be good enough. Let's save this. And again, we want it to be an FBX. And we want it to be in the objects folder. And we're going to call this Seawall 1. Now let's create our Seawall 2. So again, we're going to go with box. And we will call this one Seawall 2. And once again, we'll size it. I'm going to size it the same as that piece of beach that I had earlier. So that's going to be 160. And then the depth of the water, 3, and then a width of 2. So that's the other piece of seawall that I'm going to use. And I'm going to apply the concrete material to that. And as you see, the UV isn't quite mapped properly. Got to make that editable. And then go to the UV mapper. And that should be the same. And it looks good, so just write the UV coords. I'm going to delete Seawall 1 because I want to save Seawall 2. So I'm just going to press delete on the keyboard. And now I'm going to save Seawall 2. And we'll just change that to 2. And it's FBX. It's in the right place. So now we can go back to Unity and you'll see these get imported automatically, Seawall 1 and Seawall 2, but we need to generate the light maps and the colliders, apply that, and the same with this one. I'm using the scroll wheel, by the way, to move up and down. Colliders and maps, and apply that. Now let's bring these quickly into our scene. So Seawall 1 and Seawall 2. And to position them, I'm going to use vertex snapping. So let me just frame. So I'm pressing F on the keyboard and I'm going to rotate around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this vertex down here. So I'm pressing V on the keyboard and I'm bringing that vertex and I'm snapping it to this position on the beach. But now the object is a bit too high. So I'm going to move it down to minus 0.05. And that will get it where I want it. And let's grab this other one. Again, I'm holding the Option key as I do this to turn around. And I'm going to grab Seawall 2. Similar thing, I'm going to hold down V to get this vertex. And then I'm going to bring that vertex over there to the beach. And then I'm going to drop it so that it's minus 0.5. And let me just rotate around again. And I think we've got it looking pretty good. Just going to pan a bit. And I'm going to go to full screen with Shift Space. And again, I'm going to rotate a little bit more. The other thing you may notice, again, the shininess issue using the standard shader. So let's just quickly fix that. Shift Space. Come here. And we will change this brick paver to use the legacy shader for now. And we're just going to use a bump diffuse shader. And actually we'll put the normal map in here just to give that a bit of bumpiness. And the other one also, we'll take it off the standard shader and use the legacy diffuse shader just to get rid of some of that shininess that we were seeing. Okay, and with that, we've managed to create a little seawall for our beachfront.